I want to move on to what everybody talks about right now, which is growth, right? How do you grow your firm and scale your firm? But before I ask Jim and Eric that question, I want to ask the audience the question. If we can put up the poll, that would be great. There we go. So the poll is, how are you growing today? And just answer one of these, which is the currently the biggest contributor to your firm's growth. Is it organically through referrals, marketing, client service expansion, M&A, market performance? We're not seeing growth right now. By the way, this is confidential. Nobody will know what you replied here. Nobody's going to be filtering through, or not sure early in our journey. So if we want to let everybody answer that, and then we'll put the answers up, and I'll want Jim and Eric to comment on what the responses are, and if you're surprised, and then or not. And then Jim, I'd love for you to kind of talk about how you guys are growing at Wealth Enhancement Group. So if we could put up the answers. Okay, wow. 79% of those on the call today are growing organically as their biggest contributor. Good for you guys. Marketing, go marketing. M&A, only about 8%. Market performance, we're not growing or not sure. So are you surprised by that, Eric?
No, I'm not surprised by that at all. And I would say we could probably, within the organic section here, I think we would probably want to subdivide this even further, because my suspicion is that of the 80% of respondents who said organic, probably 75% of them are growing through referrals only, and they don't have an actual marketing plan. And I think this highlights one of the challenges that firms have with respect to growth. And it goes back to where Jim left off his last comment, which is a lot of times when someone is engaging in M&A, it's because they don't have the ability to grow. And it's not because they don't want to grow. It's not because they don't know how to grow, but there are too many demands on their time. And the reality is you can only do so much with a small team. And firms that are growing through organic marketing efforts have marketing departments. They have multiple people inside of marketing that are doing lead generation, qualification, and helping the advisor close that business. So not at all surprised with the response. Not surprised at all by the response. You say they're growing by M&A. There's obviously some people on this in attendance here who are very successful at M&A, I'm sure. But M&A is a very, very hard road to hang your hat on that as your sole growth strategy. So it's pretty much consistent with what I would expect. Jim?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised actually, because if we talked to some of our partners out there at the consulting firms and the custodians, and 75% of RIAs have flat to negative flows. So without market, they're actually not growing, which is a shocking statistic when you look at all the headlines saying the RIA space is the fastest growing space in financial services. And so I would have expected, and maybe we've attracted sort of above average firms to the webinar today, but 75% of firms, if you take your inflows and your outflows, it actually is 0 to negative. That's a remarkable statistic. And the reason for that is just what we found is just mathematical, which is, when you're $100 million, it's very, 7% goes out, 5% through attrition or through distribution, 2% through attrition. To grow 7%, all you have to do is find $14 million. Well, that's not so hard. Then you get to be 200 million, you have to find 28 million, right? Then you get to be, a billion, right? You have to find 70 million just to stay flat, and you need another 70 million to sort of grow by 7%. And so it gets progressively harder. And so when the rate that your sort of network can gather assets equals 7% of your base, you just stop growing. And that's why marketing and these other short channels are so important. For wealth enhancement, we really started purely organically. So our entire journey from 0 to about 3 billion was organic. It started with a radio show, moved to big data oriented marketing. We have 170 plus people in our marketing department today. That continues to be we have a huge investment in marketing.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, I mean, it's we spend a lot of money on marketing, and that doesn't even include all the people that we have working our different referral programs. Then you kind of, we started M&A a little bit late, so we started in 2013. And then just because you can buy a lot of assets relative to what you have, right? M&A just became a larger part of the growth story. So from about 3 billion to about 70 billion, we had more M&A. But what we're seeing now is if you look at sort of the organic growth, right, on $115, $120 billion, and you look at the market growth on that same amount, it's actually starting to catch up to what we're doing on an annual basis on the M&A side. As we project sort of forward to being a $200, $300 billion firm, the story becomes much more about organic growth and much less about M&A. The last thought that I'd have you there is, and we'll probably get into this when we talk about valuations, but the marketplace is really looking at your ability as an advisory firm to generate organic growth, and that's driving a lot of how much you get paid for your business. And I think it was Dave Barton, who is the former CEO, vice chairman of Mercer, who said, if you take two slow-growing businesses and you put them together, you just get a larger business that's harder to grow. Okay, and so M&A in and of itself isn't beneficial to your valuation. It's not beneficial to the value creation of your business, unless the sum of the two is greater, right? The sum of the parts is greater than the individual firms. And what that means is there has to be a reason why coming together is going to allow you to grow faster.